Good afternoon, Rita, and welcome to Portugal Connect. It's a pleasure to have you with us in this new series of interviews. Tell us a little bit about your role at Adega. What does the company and Grupo Nabeiro do, and what are the plans for the future?
So good afternoon, Cesar, and first of all, thank you for the invitation to have this talk. Well, talking about my role, I'm the CEO of Adega, one of a wine business that it's part of Nabeiro Group. And the Nabeiro Group, it's a family business that mostly started 60 years ago, making Delta coffee is the main brand, which everything gravitates a little bit around. It's a coffee business, and that started by my grandfather in a little town called Campo Maior in Alentejo, very close to the border with Spain. Wine was also one of his passions. Of course, the coffee is the first one. Our group is nowadays around 3,500 employees, a little bit around the world. In the case of the wine, is one of the sectors that contributes a lot to the Portuguese economy. Is part of our own culture, and you can find wine all over the place. But in the case of Adega specifically, we started in 1997 to grow our vineyards. And then 10 years after seeing the potential and the growing, because we are working with nature, so after these 10 years, we decided to invest in a beautiful winery. There was a modern, that was the first design winery in Portugal, designed by Cisa Vieira, a Portuguese architect that it's also won the Pritzker Prize. And this was also game-changing. Of course, we need to have the quality in everything we do, but at the same time, we want to bring people and close together to taste the wine and experience. For the future, of course, we are betting on growth, but we want to grow also with issues like sustainability, nature, things that really we can grow, but in a responsible way. So all our practices, the grapes that we choose, the practices that we have both inside and outside the winery are really important, that we have to do and work with nature, not against nature. So in terms of all the packaging and all the interventions in agronomic side, we try to do as much and to not harm the environment. We need to respect this kind of cycle, and we are looking forward to also do other projects in terms of circular economy and also, of course, that are related to the base of the grapes and of the land as well.
And how would you say the business and economic environment in Portugal has changed in the past 5 to 10 years?
Well, it's changed a lot. I would say we have to take these years of the pandemic or this 1.5 year of the pandemic that disrupted everything. But the 2019 was a record year in terms of creation of new companies in Portugal. I believe that it was almost like a 7% of new companies against 2018. So of course, in Portugal we have a lot of small and micro companies. But what we felt in the last few years, it's a lot of companies connected with technology and startups, new hubs, just close to where I work here in Lisbon. Is now being created a creative hub, which will host in Lisbon a lot of startups and in a different kind of environment that stimulates not only creativity but sharing ideas and I think you feel this growing of a more diverse community, in particular in Lisbon, where I live, is a city that is very good to live, and because it's not that big, you have good weather, you have good connections to everywhere. And I would say not only Lisbon, but even in the interior part, you see people from everywhere in Europe, and not only to invest and that want to work and live in Portugal. So that is really changing. And of course, we have more other companies on technology base as well that are growing a lot, young people that are investing. So I would say that that really changed a lot. Of course, we had a little bit a stop in the middle with this pandemic, but I think at the same time it will accelerate from if the pandemic really is this the beginning of the end. Yeah. It will restart again this coming of not only tourists but also people that want to live and work in Portugal and invest, of course.
Thank you, Rita. What changes have taken place in the Portuguese business environment to encourage female entrepreneurs in particular?
Well, to be honest, in terms, of course, I think that we have to look that in the last decades, we are assisting at many young women that come from this, that studied, and they just don't see as an obstacle to start their own companies, because there were not so much of I'm not going to say role models, but it was not so common to see women in front of some businesses. So I would say that today we have a new set of women that just coming out, studying. They are prepared, they see the examples, and they want and they believe that they can have their own businesses, they can start, and I think this it's been important. And then of course the sharing, the networks that we do have of not only supporting the growth of when we start. Of course, I think it's a challenge because we don't know everything, and to have the opportunity to learn with people that already passed through something similar, it's probably will help us a lot, and to not to go to the same or to do the same mistakes that probably the other did. But I think these kind of supporting groups are really, really important. And of course, we are talking a lot about these issues, no? About having female entrepreneurs, and this is kind of gives a little bit of encouragement, I guess, for that others can give a step to say, why not me, and why shouldn't I be less? But of course, this is always a path, and people, even in the companies, we still see that the path to, I'm not saying just having their own business, but inside other businesses that have their own representation, and it's still not very fair in terms of competency and where you can really have these opportunities, because you have a lot of challenges with motherhood and not only. So I think at the same time, the legislation and other kind of regulations that help and support for you if you want to have a career, but as well to have your own family. I think that's pretty important, and to have this support networks both in your home but also in your business. So I think that was really also important to have more women running businesses.
Thank you. I think the next one you already cover a little bit, but what strategic advantages are there for companies looking to make Portugal home? And what should also companies and individuals know before choosing to work or to invest in Portugal?
I would say today Portugal has a lot of high qualification people, that the new generation that is coming out from universities that are really well prepared. So you do have a lot of high quality human capital. In terms of languages, you come to Portugal and you find a lot of people that it's easy to speak not only English, outside of course of Portuguese, and Portuguese is today one of the most talked languages in all over the world, but not only the English and Portuguese, but also of course the Spanish and etc. I think Portuguese have a lot of flexibility in terms of learning. And it's a small in terms of country, but it's also cities that are really enjoyable and have quality of life, which is, I think, that's why we see more and more people trying to search for countries that are, in terms of weather, in terms of people, food, but of course all these kind of things that if you don't have to be in traffic for an hour to get to your work. I think here in Portugal it's a much more smaller scale. So and so this makes all the differences. At the same time, in terms of geographical terms, I would say Portugal is close to the Atlantic Ocean. We can say that it's in the end of Europe, but we can say also well that it's facing the United States and America as a whole. So we have all this sea ahead of us. But today, with the connections that we have, it's pretty easy to say that we can be at the center of the world. In terms of fiscal policies, it's also good for people that are trying to invest in Portugal. And I would say one that I think it's really important, because I think even though we are a small country, we are open to people from the outside. So I think we are inclusive, as I say, not only in terms of different kinds of nationalities, but different kinds of beliefs, in terms of even in terms of religious terms, which I think it's also important. So we are a tolerant country, and one of the safest country in the world. I think we are on top 3, the last research. So if this is not enough, we can keep on going with our list, but I think this is already a good one.
Thank you very much, Rita. And finally, what is your favorite place in Portugal?
Oh, I have so many, but I have to be honest. Of course, I love my hometown, Lisbon, and I say, and also on the countryside where we have our company, our family business, that it's Campo Maior, this small little town. So I cannot just say one, but Portugal is so diverse. But Açores, for me, it's one of the the most beautiful places I not say just in Portugal, but in the whole world. Açores, it's a volcanic archipelago in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and if you don't know Açores, probably you will be missing a lot.
Thank you. Great. That's all.